Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, April 3rd, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area. We'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here at May corn down 7.5 at 450 and a quarter. May soybeans are down 22 cents at 1007 and a half, and May Chicago wheat was down 9 and a quarter at 530. This morning, we had weekly export sales, solid week for corn, 1,173,200. Upper end of the range was looking for 1.6 million, so in line with estimates there. New crop was 165,000. Top end of the range was looking for 100. Beans, 410,200. That's lower end of the range. For old crop, 3,300 for new crop. Wheat sales, 340,000. Top end of the estimates, we're looking for around 300. 95,200 for new crop there. Meal, 93,500. Lower end of the range. Bottom end was 100,000. So kind of weak there on the meal side. And oil sales, 13,800. Lower end of the range as well. 5,000 on the low side was what they were looking for. We had layoff announcements here this morning in the outside markets. Federal furloughs were 216,215. With those were from the federal government, with a total layoffs looking at 275,240. So we do have real weak outside markets here. The Dow currently down a little over 1,200. S&P's off 213. Bond markets are sharply higher. Bitcoin down 5,200. With that, guys, a lot going on here. Yesterday afternoon, we got the long anticipated and information on the reciprocal tariffs and the new tariff agreements that are going into place. I know there was a lot to dive into. The markets certainly were, we started weak overnight, grinded lower here all morning. We currently, as I mentioned, the outside markets are getting beat up pretty good. Crude oil's getting whacked, gold down $75. So it was interesting, as we started our morning conversations here, that, it's not like a safe place to run. It's more of money out and risk off. And, it's going to take a lot of kind of catching your breath to figure out where the next level of pricing comes from. So Jace, maybe give us kind of your initial take on what we have found out, and we'll throw around the room.
All right. Oh, thanks, Dan. Yeah, it's panic, right? Panic, fear, selling, definitely in grains. There's, right, the news yesterday, there was nothing in particular that would have to do with our sector, but it was just fear, so grain, beans down 23, corn's down 5 to 7. To your point, soybean oil is down. Everything that was looking really good last couple of days just getting hammered. And I think just fear of retaliation, right? And what does that mean? Nobody knows. So I think the shock to the market, and we were kind of talking, you and me, Dan, right? We're like, why is everybody panicking? Like, we've been talking about this for a while. Mm-hmm. We mentioned on the War Room yesterday, right? Like, this is what they want to do. They've been saying this. Trump ran on this. He got elected on this, right? If you watched his speech yesterday, he's got the auto union workers there, and right, all these guys are cheering him on, and they want this reshoring of manufacturing, and it's going to be painful to do. And everybody's like, "Holy crap!" Right? Like, he's serious.
Right.
That's just and what does that mean? I mean, Brad in our office here brought up, like, Nike's getting hammered, right? Yeah. And we were talking about this, right? If you go make your shoes overseas and you pay some kid $2 a day to make a Nike, and you sell it for $100 in the U.S., like, that your margin is going to get hammered if we got to reshore that, or if you get hit with a big tariff. So it is going to hurt a lot of these companies' balance sheets, and the stock market is based on price to earnings and extrapolated over time, right? So you got to go rethink the value of all these companies, at least in the short term. And the real fear of a recession, if this policy maintains, I mean, it's going to happen, I guess, right? And it's almost like they want it to happen. They want, right? You you want interest rates to come down, right? I think we got to refinance. The U.S. got to refinance like $9 or $10 trillion this year. You know, so maybe the first step is like, yeah, we gotta burn it down to rebuild it, I guess is what it feels like.
Yeah.
You know, and so the burning it down is maybe the start of that, or at least that's the fear, right? Definitely the fear index is off the chart.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna have to get the tax cut bill. They're gonna have to get these tax cuts done. Like, I think that this is a referendum now in terms of, you know, them coming together. They have to go win in the eyes of the American people, because this morning you wake up and the stock market's down 1,300 and you're not. Let's be clear. I mean, there's still huge misconceptions on how tariffs work, right? And what, you know, the tax and are you taxing the American people? And, you know, the story goes on, and it's, you know, it takes a big deep dive. We had to do it when we first started hearing about what these were going to look like, because at the face of it, you just don't know. So they're going to have to do a lot of things here real quick to shore up public confidence, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and it's not, you know, if you look at the tariffs and the U.S. retaliatory tariffs, right? In their math, the administration is like, you know, it's the tariffs plus currency manipulation and unfair trade, right? It's kind of like in this quotations of like, this is some percentage, which, you know, it's really hard to grasp. Like, yeah, there is unfair trade, but how do you put it into a number? So I think this administration kind of scrambled and say, well, this is the number we came up with. Yes, you know, how it relates to the grain markets, I don't think, you know, anything has changed on our end besides price and the, like I said, the fear level. You know, I still think you have to stick to your plan, all those things. You know, the one silver lining is the dollar being sharply lower. You know, the real is up quite a bit, right? So, you know, it was definitely a headwind, our strong dollar these last couple years. And if that corrects, and then we get, you know, there's going to be trade deals too, right? Like Trump is willing to make deals. So, you know, this is the first step. The fear's up, right? And you know, just reading through some of the people on Twitter, you know, a lot of people talking, giving their takes on this, but it's like, you better be the first guy to come to the table and make a deal with Trump, right? You don't want to be the last guy.
I would be.
You don't want to be the last guy, right? And so I do think these deals are going to get, it's like, you know, and you have Elon in here, you have all these tech guys that are in the administration, all these finance guys, all these big company guys that it's like, you know, break it and then find out what, you know, you shouldn't have broken and repair it.
Yeah. Right.
And that's what Elon did with Twitter, right? I mean, you fire 80% of the workforce and see if it still works. And then, you know, if it breaks, fix it. It feels like that, right? Yep. It's like, break it, see what breaks, and we'll fix it if we need to. And I think this is the first step in breaking it, and then see how the market reacts and see how all these different things react. And then we'll go back and, you know, fix it.
Yeah, and to that point, you make a great point on the deals. I mean, you've got till, I mean, the reciprocals go into effect on April 9th, and I think the baseline goes into effect on Saturday, and so you do have a couple. You know, he gives people an opportunity. So the economist I was watching this morning, you know, said, he's like, just wait. He goes, it's going to be a revolving door in the next, you know, 24 to 48 hours of, okay, what do we got to do here? Like, let's figure this out. And he's got the, you know, by all accounts right now, he's got the upper hand. You know, he's got the power. He did what he said he was going to do.
Yeah. I mean, nobody likes to see, I mean, I'm sure he doesn't like to see the stock market falling apart.
I can't imagine.
No, but, you know, I think he wanted the dollar to come down. He wants interest rates to come down, right? He ran on this. He wants people to be able to afford a car and afford a house, and right. So the first step is you got to get interest rates back down and force the Fed's hand to start cutting rates, I think. So it's, I guess, it's not going to be an easy transition, especially if it actually happens and we transition to onshoring all this manufacturing and bringing back these jobs. This is 30 years of globalization that we're trying to flip on its head. Yeah, and anything, even if it's like I said yesterday, even if it's the best thing for this country, it's not going to be smooth sailing for a while. So,
Well, right, you got cattle markets are going to be all about stock market here this morning. But I do believe your hogs got a little bit of a reprieve on the Mexico Canada discussions on tariffs. So why don't you give us your best breakdown here on all things tariffs and
yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot more discussions after, but after today about the longer term trajectory, what happens, winners, losers, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, you said it right. I mean, I think the hog market has just been kind of lying in wait to see what happens with Mexico and Canada, and obviously didn't seem to be a lot of fresh news regarding that. If it's a 10% kind of tariff situation, this is, I think, better than the market was really expecting. So obviously we're going to see which countries come to the table, and want to negotiate already. Obviously on the beef side of things, South Korea was kind of running, already calling for some kind of a deal from what it sounds like. So I mean, like, there's definitely going to be a lot of negotiations, and we'll see what sticks, right? I mean, it's the initial shock. So obviously we're going to see some risk off today, almost no question about it. But I do think the hog market did kind of dodge the bullet. I think it's hard to just disregard what's going on in every other market, but you kind of look at at what's happening here. I mean, you got cattle market at, contract highs yesterday, just pretty much across the board. And we're still seeing cash trade. I mean, obviously the export report wasn't great, but still not terrible for beef. But on the other hand, pork, I mean, you could tell Mexico was a little bit fearful. I mean, they took 30,600 metric tons. So I mean, like, they've got a lot on the books. So I mean, I just think overall the news was not as bad meat wise, I think, or for the meat sector, as it certainly could have been. But these negotiations are going to continue. So I think once we get past the initial fear, we're just going to focus a lot more on the kind of short term kind of fundamentals here once we start seeing some of this.
Didn't they say that like the USMCA, if we abide by that agreement, that the U.S. is going to abide by that, and so isn't that kind of a safety, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. There are exceptions, from what
Canada and Mexico. Like. Yeah. It says specifically Canada and Mexico are exempt from the new reciprocal tariffs. However, imports from both countries that aren't covered by USMCA are subject to 25%. So, so yeah, he's kind of he's fallen in line, but at the same time, he did get back to a sort of reciprocity on certain items
outside of that agreement,
which probably spurs on, those folks to adhere even closer with that USMCA, because you can't afford to screw that part up.
Right.
If, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't expect too much retaliation from them just yet, at least on the meat side of things. I mean, obviously, like, everybody's freaked out. The stock market's going to scare everybody. I think initially, like, you got to get through this wave first. I mean, cooler heads typically prevail. Obviously, Trump wants deals. He wants guys coming to the table from what it looks like and negotiating. So it just puts all these outside governments in a position where they have to acknowledge them. If they want to take the hard line, obviously, the tariffs are probably going to go up on those countries. So I think it's going to be a negotiation. I think there's a lot of doom and gloom and a lot of fear right now, but I mean, it's only been a couple hours, since the announcement. So let's see how it shakes out before we get too crazy about it.
Now, very good. One thing I did want to mention too, guys, I didn't want to forget. So as it pertains to our growers, you've got till April 15th to elect between PLC and ARC, right? So we've talked about it a number of times, but looking at new crop beans, making ARC pretty much a lock. Am I wrong? Right? What's your thoughts, Jace?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, outside of a massive drop in beans, I mean, you could probably make the argument to switch to PLC and corn if corn really, really gets hammered here, price wise. But the thing with that issue, right? If this is a short term drop and you choose PLC, right? The benefits aren't until the marketing year of next year, right? So you're kind of playing a short term move in price. And obviously there's some things we can do around that, right? If we really get beat up and you're using your hedge account, we could probably, trade around that a little bit, and make that decision. I don't think we're there yet, Dan,
Okay.
with making those changes yet, but that's a good point, right? If it really got ugly, in our prices, I think you could, potentially make those changes. I mean, most guys that, chose our county versus PLC in corn, at least. I mean, if you chose PLC, it was probably because you were trying to reduce your RP policy and choose an SEO policy to fill that gap on the county base and for the subsidy of that. So if you were to make that change, it could affect that SEO policy that you have on, or vice versa. So, like I said, I don't think we're there yet. It's a good point, though. I mean, something to think about if things really kind of fall apart here. So
yeah, and I know
I'm not expecting that. So let's hope that's not the case.
Right. No, I'm with you. I think the takeaway there is, and we've kind of preached on it for quite a bit, is let's visit. Let's make sure that we've got acceptable outcomes at different yield and price scenarios right now as we start planting and get into the fields, and make sure that we're got all these things hammered out. So give us a call. We'd love to visit with you about that. Just open the markets here, get a quick rundown. May corn's down 6 at 451 3/4. May soybeans are down 21.5 at 1008, and May Chicago wheat's down 5.5 at 533 3/4. Tomorrow morning we're going to have a jobs report will be out. So we'll talk about that in the war room. Also, it's everybody's favorite day of the week. Brian will be back with Fun Fact Friday. I never know what you're going to get there, so be sure to tune in. We appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis. If you wouldn't mind, throw us a like and certainly subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to do so. And it'll keep you up to speed on everything that's going on with AgYield. So again, thanks to everybody that supports the show. We're doing this live every day that the markets are open on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 8:15 Central Time. Appreciate the thoughts and comments there this morning, guys. It was a good show. Hope everybody has a great day. We look forward to talking again tomorrow.
The War Room is proudly presented by AgYield. For over 50 years, the AgYield team has provided grain marketing and risk management solutions for growers across the country. Our veteran consultants harness cutting-edge technologies to pinpoint risk, optimize market performance, and protect your farm's profitability. Discover a new approach to farm revenue management at agyield.com.
Hey guys, Jack here. Be sure to support the show by hitting the like button, leaving us a comment, and subscribing to the channel for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.